Today we're going to talk about the way I see things when it comes to Star Wars and the new Episode 7, The Force Awakens. So I am a big Star Wars fan. I have been ever since I was a child, and I've amassed a small collection of action figures, not toys. You know, plenty more over there, a walker, some ships and stuff. You know, I've collected them for years. I really love Star Wars. I remember as a kid watching the movies for the first time and even rewatching them again as an adult. I can kind of relive those memories and stuff. It was great. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what I think about Star Wars itself and try to tie that into what I expect for the next movies. And I'm going to try to keep it brief because I got to go to work. Let's get the elephant out of the room. The prequels, okay? I don't want to spend a lot of time beating up on them because the rest of the internet already has. So, obviously, they were a disaster. It's funny, you watch any of the behind-the-scenes featurettes and documentaries about Star Wars, you see George Lucas talking about it's the story that drives people's emotions and things, and the filmmaking aspect takes second place. It's the story that has to, drive everything else. And of course, episodes 1 through 3, he, forgot to do that. Though it was kind of nice to have some backstory, it would have been great had they really kept in line with some of the things that were said in the originals. Speaking of the originals, my wife and I actually watched all 6 movies, one per week, the last month and a half to get prepared for The Force Awakens. And we watched them Phantom Menace to Return of the Jedi. And, trying to watch all of them to see how the story, would unfold chronologically. I mean, once you get to the originals, you see how the prequels all fell apart. The originals were so magical. They were so great. And what we loved about them was just that it was this whole new world with some familiar things, but just something about them made them come alive. And the movies themselves really hold the test of time, just with the practical effects and those kind of things, just because it seemed more real. It seemed like a believable universe, a believable story, and that's why I think so many people love it. And I know that's why I do, too. 1 through 3 were kind of hard. We actually totally fell asleep in Attack of the Clones. The copy of Attack of the Clones I don't have the Blu-rays, I have the DVDs. Attack of the Clones I actually have in full screen, 4:3. I can't even bring myself to correct it and get a widescreen version. Whatever. The original movie, Star Wars, also known as Episode 4, A New Hope. This movie is great. It's a little slower paced, just because, it's considered fast-paced for the day in which it was made, but it's slower by today's standards, but it's totally acceptable. They have to set up the entire thing. You have the rebellion, you have the Empire hunting them down, you have an old wizard and a young moisture farmer, and you have a smuggler and his sidekick and the ships and the Death Star. It's so much stuff in there. They have to do this exposition to reveal it all to you. But it's so great because there's the mystery of the Force. There's the mystery of the Clone Wars, the mystery of Darth Vader, the Empire, the Republic, all that stuff. There's so much packed into that movie that it was just a sensation, a phenomenon. Everybody loved it. And it is on my rank of 6 movies, from greatest to most, or favorite to least favorite. It ranks as number 3, just because I wonder which ones you think might be the most favorites. Additionally, about that movie, it talks about the past and what things you should have been able to look back to or look forward to in the past about the prequels. The Clone Wars, like I mentioned. Anakin Skywalker, or Luke's father, at least. Those things even as a kid, I remember thinking like, man, what is the Clone Wars? I always wondered, what is that stuff? And now that all the movies and the TV shows and things have happened, we know a little bit more about that. So that's kind of interesting. But the way that the movie talks about those things, and only briefly too. But the thing is, in the Star Wars universe, those events all have a history. For us, we don't know anything about it at the time, so that's what made it seem more interesting. It kind of tugs at your emotions a little bit. You want to know more about it. So I find that those movies, the originals especially, are kind of an interesting case study of filmmaking in and of themselves, because they give you the little tiny bits of information that you want to know more about, but you can't because the story's not about that quite yet, and eventually it will be, and that's what really makes it more interesting. It is great. It is packed full of a lot of information, a lot of the story, and I find that really cool as a wannabe filmmaker myself. And that was the thing that really kickstarted me and millions of other people into loving Star Wars. Second of the originals is The Empire Strikes Back. Now, I will say there's only a little bit of controversy with me in this one. Friends of mine say that Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars movie that was made. And yes, I agree, it is great. But I have to rank it at number 2 for me. And I'll talk about, and you can take a wild guess which one is my top favorite. But I'll talk about why that is in a minute. Empire Strikes Back is so cool. We rewatched it last week, and I forgot just how good that movie is. The rebels are in hiding. The Empire is seeking them out. They have that chase in the asteroid field. They have to escape to Bespin. Luke meets up with another Jedi Master, a secret, he's been hiding for decades on the swamp planet. They go to a new planet. They meet old friends to them. Luke starts learning the ways of the Force. He confronts Darth Vader, and then they have that the ultimate reveal of Luke being the son of Darth Vader. Just so emotional, so powerful. As filmmaking goes, it threw everybody off. I remember my mom telling me when she was babysitting somebody the night that the movie came out. And I think, like my sister and whoever else, they all went to see the movie. They came back and she asked, how was it? And they said, you won't believe it. Darth Vader is Luke's father. Can you imagine if there's some sort of reveal like that when 30 years ago when you see the movie, like, what? All the stuff that happens in that movie is so great, and I mean it's up there. It's number 2 for me. There's so much. There's a lot of action, a lot of exposition talking about the past, Luke's father. One of my favorite lines in the movie is when Luke is leaving Dagobah to rescue, help his friends. Ben Kenobi says, that boy was our only hope, or our last hope. And then Yoda says, no, there is another. I mean, what? There's more to the story again. So it's always leaving you, Star Wars is always leaving you with just, that extra tiny bit of information that you're question like, whoa, what does that mean? That there's some significance to all that. And that's what I really love. That's like my favorite thing about storytelling, is that you can give that little bit of information that piques people's interest, but you're not going to tell them anything about it till later. I think that's really great. Last, and certainly not least, is my number 1 favorite Star Wars movie, Return of the Jedi. I'm wearing a Return of the Jedi shirt. It actually glows in the dark. But this movie is my favorite. It is, of course, the culmination of George Lucas' story. Han has been frozen in carbonite. They go to Tatooine to rescue him. Then they have to fight the Empire again, blow up the second Death Star. I mean, impossible odds. We watched this the other morning to get it out of the way. It was the last movie we had, and we didn't have time over the weekend to do so. So we had a couple hours in the morning, and we watched it. What a great way to start the morning. You and your wife sitting on the couch watching Star Wars. It's great. Can't ask for anything more. This movie is my favorite because it wraps up a lot of those some of the questions that you have from the other movies. You find out that Luke has a twin sister, Leia. It's such an emotional lightsaber battle at the end between him and Darth Vader. The special effects are so much better in this movie than they were in the previous two. You know, it just got better and better. That was the thing. Everything kept getting better. And so I liked that one the best because it showcased not just story, because story is so great, and I love the story of it, but that they progressed in how they were able to make the movies, and how much care and attention to detail was taken for the characters, for the puppets and the aliens, and just the special effects. I think it's my favorite for all those reasons. The Death Star battle at the end is great. The lightsaber battle is great. The forest battle is fantastic. The Ewoks are hilarious. They're way better than Gungans. But yeah, it was just it's my favorite movie. When you know how the originals, you know the originals, you know the entire story. Then you see the prequels. Then you rewatch the originals again. And you hear all the extra little tidbits that they tell about what happened in the movie's history, in the Star Wars universe's movie history. And then you realize, wow, what a terrible job they did. Some of the things like Obi-Wan says, you know, when I met your father, he was already a great pilot. Okay, like, you know, there's some information. We know now he became a pod racer and somehow pilot and blew up that Trade Federation ship. Then Obi-Wan also says, your sister was hidden from your father because the Emperor knew, as well as I did, that they would be a threat to him, to the Emperor. The Emperor didn't even care. He was like, oh, Padme, she's dead. Luke even asks Leia, tell me about your mother. Your real mother. So he knows that she was adopted. I mean, that's another whole plot point right there. Just completely overlooked. So, I mean, stuff like that, the storytelling aspect of it really ticks me off with how poorly the prequels were made. I think all you have to do to make better prequels is just watch the originals, take everything that they say, and then make a movie about what they said. Is that so hard? So that leads me, finally, to The Force Awakens, Episode 7, releasing tomorrow. I'm pretty excited about the movie. I have wondered what they would do. When I found out that they got rid of the expanded universe, I was pretty disappointed. I haven't invested a lot in the expanded universe. I have no Star Wars books. I have these action figures. I have none of the new Force Awakens action figures. So, you know, I don't think the movie's going to flop. I think it's going to be good. I think that the amount of care that the director, J.J. Abrams, and other people have taken in making it will show forth that this is actually going to be a pretty good movie. There are a few things, though, that I think will happen. And that's part of the reason why I'm making this incredibly long video that, you know, that's going to make me late for work. There are things that I'm looking forward to things that I expect to happen, a certain level of fan service, and just all the mystery that entails. I've gotten in trouble with some of my friends about saying what I think's going to happen in this movie, who I think's going to die, and looking at all the trailers and things to try to piece those things together. So all I'm going to say here is, my final thoughts about everything, and not rehash stuff that I may have said before. Essentially, I don't think any main character is going to die. So any of the Han, Luke, Leia, Chewie, 3PO, R2, I don't think any of them are going to die in this one. The next movie, though, that'll be, I think it's fair game that anybody dies. Luke, let me come back to Luke. All the new characters. Rey, is she a Skywalker? Is she a Solo? All the trailers and things, you're not sure. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that she is not related to any of them. I don't think that she's a Solo. I don't think she's a Skywalker. I think she is, nothing. They don't show her using a lightsaber or anything, but that doesn't mean anything. Finn. Is he Lando's son? Probably not. I think he just comes from nowhere. He was a stormtrooper, so he was, part of the Empire, or the First Order. Talk about that. That's all the new names and things. That's another whatever. Is he Force sensitive because they show him using a lightsaber? I don't know. I'm gonna guess no. I don't think he will be. Poe Dameron. Why is he the only one who has a last name? Is that because it's Finn Calrissian? Rey Solo? I think that their last names will be revealed, and I think that will be very telling. But I also don't think that they're going to be related to the people who we think that they're related to. Poe Dameron, some pilot guy. I don't know. I don't know the actor at all. He looks kind of like PETA. But, I don't know. He's the pilot. I don't know anything about him at all. I've not looked up anything. The last couple weeks, I have tried to abstain from any new Star Wars news. I've seen all the trailers. I've seen most of the TV spots, I think. I'm done. I've been turning off the TV. I've been avoiding websites that have Star Wars news on it. I don't want to know anything. I don't know anything about Poe Dameron. So I can't really even speculate on the guy. I know nothing. I saw one thing and what made me turn off everything, other than the fact that I was going to, was that I saw one thing on the internet, some little Disney special that they had for kids on the Disney Channel. I saw that one thing, and there was a plot point, I think. Because what the guy said, this is in the movie, and it's like an official special thing. Ooh, man, that ruined it for me. Telling you. If I were to even say it right here, so mad that I turned everything off because that just ruined something for me, and I'm thinking about it right now, and it's making me angry, so I'm not happy. The naming of things, the rebellion is called the Resistance. Look, I get it. Star Wars. The whole movie franchise has to be about, battles and wars and fighting and stuff. I get it. But couldn't the good guys, like in the expanded universe, I'm told, at least be in charge of something and not be called the Resistance? The rebellion to the Resistance? The Galactic Alliance. Why aren't they just called the Alliance? Or the New Republic? The Resistance? There better be a really good explanation for that. Okay? First Order. Same thing. Look, whether or not they are actually a continuation of the Galactic Empire, just can't they Like, I guess that's okay because you gotta have stormtroopers. I'm a little bit more forgiving with that one because I can kind of see it. Resistance, though, that's not cool to me. I don't like that name at all. All right, because this is approaching 20 minutes, I'm gonna wrap up with two final points. One being another character, Luke Skywalker. Where is Luke? Is he actually in this movie? He's supposed to be in the movie. I think my prediction is I have two versions of this. One, Luke is secretly training Jedi somewhere, and we'll find out very soon. Or he is actually Kylo Ren himself. Look, I know that sounds ridiculous, but effectively, what that means is Luke is bad. I mean, I don't want Luke to be bad. It totally goes with everything else, though, that, there was a good guy in Anakin, and he became bad. Luke, there was a good guy in Luke, and he became bad, too. I mean, I could see it happening. I mean, I think it's unlikely, but... So, those are my two things. I can't decide if Luke is actually bad or if he's not. I wouldn't be upset if Luke were bad. I would probably be fine with it. I also would be fine with Luke being good. But if he's good, he has to be training some other Jedi. I mean, the movie's called The Force Awakens, right? So if the movie's called Force Awakens, that means that the Force has been dormant. Luke is the last of the Jedi, allegedly. So there have to be more Jedi, right? Or, if you want to spin it a little bit, that the dark side is also, they also are Force people. So they've got midichlorians. There've got to be Jedi or dark side guys too, right? Mm-hmm. So, does everybody get to use the Force? I think that would be dumb. That can't happen. Oh, and by the way, Princess Leia, or, if she's a princess anymore, because Alderaan's been blown up for, 40 years in the movie. She has to know how to use the Force, at least a little bit. If Luke is off hiding somewhere, she's got to be able to do something. She's got to either have her own lightsaber, or she's got to be able to, force choke somebody who's not going to listen to her. Okay? Prediction is she's got to know how to use the Force, at least a little bit. Just read your mind, something. Come on. She's got to be able to do that. I mean, if I knew that I had the ability within my genealogy to do that, I would at least attempt, right? Come on. That's the end of what I think about Star Wars and my look ahead to Episode 7. So, what do you think about Star Wars? What do you think about The Force Awakens? If you're going to go see it, leave a comment in the comment area below. Thanks for watching, and I guess I got to say it. May the Force be with you. See you later.